Yellowstone Supervolcano, and the largest landslide in the world at White Mountain. Now we know we have a lot of seismic activity, about 3,000 earthquakes in Yellowstone every year. We have 10,000 geothermal areas, 60% of the world's geysers. We've had a 7.5 magnitude earthquake back in 1959 in August, and that destroyed various sections around Hebgen Lake. And this is one of the landslides in that area. It created a new lake. So there's a lot of activity and, of course, landslides. The biggest one, according to USGS, Caldera Chronicles. Yellowstone is well known as one of the largest volcanic systems in the world. It's one of the 21 plus supervolcanoes in the world. Few people, though, however, know that the largest known subaerial landslide, as opposed to submarine landslide, subaerial landslide on Earth is located just next door. Yellowstone Caldera Chronicles weekly column written by scientists of Yellowstone Volcano Observatory. This week is from Annie Carlson, researcher coordinator at Yellowstone Center for Resources, Yellowstone National Park. So among the geological hazards in the Yellowstone region, you may be familiar with the possibility of earthquakes. Hydrothermal explosions were created lakes in the past, and of course volcanic eruptions. But what about landslides? We know that small landslides are pretty common in the region. Some are historical, like the Gros Ventre slide east of Jackson Hole. Others are prehistoric, like the travertine slide, that former Silver Gate near Mammoth Hot Springs, that formed Silver Gate. With seemingly endless geological wonders around Yellowstone, you may not be aware that the largest known subaerial, that is above sea level, landslide ever occurred here. The White Mountain Detachment, this mind-boggling landslide, has often elicited more questions than answers, but over the decades, geologists have pieced together the evidence into a compelling theory. Now we know that from the past super eruptions, 2.1 million years ago, 1.3 million years ago, and 630,000 years ago, which was a double eruption, a lot of the ash that came out of these super volcanic eruptions formed mountains of ash, mountains. And a lot of them, as you can see, you can really pick with your car key, and it just falls apart. It's still ash. Some of it, from the extensive heat, has conglomerated into very strong stone. Some of it is still ash. Now, to give the incredible size of White Mountain Detachment, HMD, some perspectives recall images you've seen from the 1980 Mount St. Helens eruption. On the morning of May 18, 1980, a magnitude 5.1 earthquake occurred, marking the start of an enormous landslide on the north slope of the mountain that uncorked the magma body that had been growing within the mountain and unleashed a devastating lateral blast. Millions of people around the globe still remember watching the events of that on the news, and it was the largest landslide in recorded human history, but it was tiny compared to the White Mountain Detachment, HMD. The HMD occurred about 49 million years ago, concurred with the volcanic eruptions that built the Absaroka Range. At least 3,500 square kilometers of land slid during the HMD, which is an area larger than the size of Rhode Island. This enormous block of land lay east of present-day Yellowstone National Park boundary, with the northwestern breakaway point near Silver Gate, Montana. The block slid southeast towards Cody, Wyoming. The upper plate was composed primarily of Paleozoic, that's about 250 to 540 million years ago, carbonate rock, and younger Absaroka volcanoes. As we know about that, that's about 250 million years ago, the large heavy bombardment on the Earth. Now, notable deposits of the landslide include White Mountain, namesake White Mountain, and the McCulloch Peaks near the southeastern terminus. A scenic drive along the Chief Joseph Highway 296 provides spectacular views of this landscape. Now, what triggered the massive White Mountain Detachment landslide, HMD? Did it happen catastrophically all at once, or incrementally over the course of thousands of years. How could such an enormous block of land move along a slope that was angled at only 2 degrees, as opposed to the much steeper slopes that are typical for landslides? These questions have prompted rigorous debate among geologists for decades. Continuous allochthon versus tectonic denudation, anyone. Now, recent studies support a theory that the triggering mechanism was the emplacement of a Lampropyre diatreme, that's a volcanic plug, that formed when magma was forcing through flat-lying sedimentary rock associated with Absaroka volcanic activity. The diatreme emplacement triggered a catastrophic landslide traveling at about 100 meters per second. It's also theorized that the landslide was able to quickly move a great distance across a 2-degree slope because carbon dioxide, CO2, was rapidly generated as the carbonate rocks slid past each other. This gas layer lifted the upper portion of the landslide and allowed it to move with minimal friction, like a hovercraft. Much of the colossal slide movement may have happened within minutes, so it's difficult to comprehend the power and scale of such an event. Granted, larger landslides have occurred under the ocean, and it's possible that there have been larger subaerial landslides in geology history that we have not yet found evidence for, or the evidence has been erased by subsequent geologic processes. But as it stands, the White Moutain Detachment, HMD, is the largest known subaerial landslide in the world, another chapter in the astounding geologic history of the Yellowstone Supervolcano and the region. This is by USGS, Yellowstone Volcano Observatory on the Chronicles. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.